In tried, true, and tested GW fashion, the terrible NDA for content creators was of course but the tip of the trash iceberg, as I have now received word from another brave whistleblower that the NDA is also being used against fan-animators, and not just as an NDA preceding a hiring of the fan-animators. This is one of the things I've seen repeated frequently from the GW apologists, saying that, oh, GW is being so nice. Yes, they're taking down people's Patreon and forcing them to delete their entire YouTube channels, but at least they're offering them jobs in return. No, they are not. The job offer is nothing more than a blatant bait and switch to try and trick individuals into signing the NDA. In the specific example I've been told about, the fan animator was invited to a call, a meeting with several Games Workshop staffers and a Black Library author, making it sound like a big deal, though they were very careful to avoid any promises or mentions of a real proper job. They would just talk about, oh, maybe you could come on a meeting with us. Would you be interested in this? Maybe we could work together. Weasel words and tricky talk. And of course, you just gotta sign the NDA first. When my informant then showed up to the meeting, there was no Black Library author in sight, and he didn't show up for the duration of the meeting either. In all due likelihood, he was never going to show up at all. This is a well-known and particularly scummy tactic that I have run into a couple of times in the world of business as well. You are told that you're going to have a meeting with a high-ranking official within a company, and you're all excited. Okay, this must mean that they mean business, right? They wouldn't bring out the exec of whatever the hell just to talk to some random nobody, right? And then they simply never show up, and instead you've got a meeting with a couple of flunkies. Which is exactly what happened in this case, and it doesn't even stop there either. The potential job offer very quickly turned into a simple trial period. Oh, if you complete these free tasks for us, we're not going to pay you or anything, then maybe we will consider a hiring interview later on. And this is apparently a common tactic at Games Workshop, as I've also been in contact with illustrators who tell exactly the same tale, and worse tales still. In one case, one artist was asked to complete a series of tasks over the course of 6 weeks, after which GW would take their sweet-ass time to get back to the individual and maybe set up an interview for a potential hiring. I've even heard tale of people applying for a job, doing all of the free work, getting rejected, and then being contacted to do more free work for another potential job offer further down the line. Maybe this is a British thing, but holy hell, that sounds abusive and scummy as all hell. Purely just trying to get as much free labor out of people as humanly possible. But back to the fan animation part of it, why would they go to so much trouble to try and get people to sign the NDA, promising them meetings with influential GW personnel and waving job offerings in front of them? Well, in all due likelihood, it is because of point 4, the non-compete and non-solicitation clause, something you usually do not, again, put in a simple NDA, but it states that without GW's prior permission, at any time during the term, you are not allowed to canvass, solicit, or otherwise seek the customs of a restricted customer. So you are not allowed to create anything that might take some customers away from Games Workshop, or hell, not even take them away, simply seeking their business is out of the question. And the definition of restricted customer is, of course, any person who is at the effective date or who has been at any time during the period of 12 months immediately preceding the effective date a client or a customer or simply in the habit of dealing with Games Workshop. It is essentially a pair of, well, gold-leafed handcuffs, saying that, no, even if you are a fan animator, you are not allowed to even make something that might be interesting to our customer base. It is absolutely awful. Now, to be fair as well, we do not know how old this contract is. We do not know if the original crop of fan animators poached by GW had to sign something similar to this. But if they did, here's the thing. Even if some of these fan animators are abused by GW and are not allowed to make what they want to make, which is what they were apparently promised, then they can do nothing about it. Oh, they can quit, sure, and they'll be bound by this contract for 3 years afterwards, where they can't make anything that might compete in any way with Games Workshop. And to finally just hammer home the assholishness of it all as well, I don't even think they ever intended to offer any kind of a position to the person at all. Because here's the thing, all of this hype, all of this trickery, oh, we'll bring in the big guns for you, sir. The job offering they were asking him to apply for wasn't even his specialty. They gave him all this bullshit about, oh, you know, we need a bit of free work from you so we can see where you fit into the grand scheme of things. We need to make sure that you'll be the right fit for this particular job. When what they were offering him had nothing to do with what he usually did. It was a completely different level of animation and a completely different field and setting. In other words, they knew that this was probably not something he'd be particularly interested in or even necessarily that good at, specifically because it is only to get the person to sign the NDA, to tie down and bind as many people as possible to completely remove all competition. And of course, as a little aside as well, any doubt about whether or not this NDA is real is now well and truly buried, as we now have yet another leaked version, this time a higher resolution one as well. Plus, there's a lovely little number attached to this leaked NDA, which seems to have been placed there specifically to identify which NDA is on display, so that they can potentially track down whomever decided to leak it. Clearly, Games Workshop is getting quite nervous about their NDAs being out there, and I would be too if I'd written an abomination like this. I have also incidentally received quite a few reports from people working at Games Workshop stores suggesting that their sales of GW products are not looking particularly good at this point in time. Coincidence? Perhaps. Anecdotal? Absolutely. But I would not at all be surprised if GW sales were currently taking a pounding, and Warhammer Plus is definitely not doing particularly well, as all of a sudden GW has decided to give away 5 complete Citadel painting sets, so long as you're subscribed to Warhammer Plus, of course. Oh, it warms the heart to see that awful service begin to fail. Again, as I said previously, however, I am absolutely certain that GW has counted on this, costing them money probably for years. This is a very long-term investment for them, and it's going to keep going on no matter how much money it loses for a very long time yet. But oh god, I cannot wait to see coupons being offered in White Dwarves, or even potentially on content creator YouTube channels. Here, a free month of Warhammer Plus. I do hope they send some in the mail, because it would probably make for excellent toilet paper. Oh, and whilst we're on the topic as well, another piece of apologia I keep seeing floating about is that this is actually entirely standard, you see. It's entirely fine for NDAs to be like this. Let me show you a actual NDA, a regular NDA, an actual non-disclosure agreement rather than a pair of cast iron manacles that is to be slapped around somebody's wrists. you will see here that pretty much all this contract does is tell you to not talk about a thing. There is no non-compete goddamn clause in here. There is no, oh, you can't speak ill of us clause in here. It is simply a few points stating that when you are given something by us covered by this NDA, you are not allowed to talk about it until we give you the go-ahead. And just by the by as well, incidentally, there is also no clause suggesting that if the receiving party should somehow leak any information by accident or otherwise, that the company can sue you and you will have to pay for their legal expenses. This is not a regular NDA by any definition of the word whatsoever in any field, anywhere. And these leaks are doing genuine damage to Games Workshop as well, which is why they're getting paranoid and trying to deal with the leakers by adding in identifiable numbers at the bottom of the NDAs. Now, have their sales truly plummeted? God, I hope so. Is Warhammer Plus failing? Of that, I am next to absolutely certain. And their stock prices? Plummeting. Long, long, long may the fall continue. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and fuck Games Workshop. Have a good day.